Buddy.
Hey, I just want to welcome everybody to the August 11th, 2025 City of Idaho Spring Sports Session. Kick it off right at 5:30 because we've got a lot of stuff. Chief, I'd like to tee it up for you. I will say, once in a while, something from technology comes before us that is so good and so cheap, you can't even believe it.
I swear to you, last weekend, I was talking to Doug about this very idea.
Oh,
I
really?
had never heard of it before, and then I was like, damn it, there's my other way of making money. All right, it is a perfect idea, I agree.
Scott, your
100%.
timing is perfect. We're just kicking it off here with Chief about AI app for the police department.
Sure, if I could just take a few minutes and talk about this. So this is something I had actually seen probably close to a year ago. One of the sergeants has actually got a free kind of version that doesn't actually with body cams, but to help write reports, basically dictating your reports. And so oftentimes our people are actually taking people down to the hospital and then taking them to jail. They're moving a lot on the highways, they're out and about. So dictating reports is helpful because you can be a lot more efficient. I mean, think about doctors. Doctors have been dictating reports for a long time. So so that part of it works really well. There's a number of things, and some of this also can. I've researched. I spent hours and hours researching this and some of the things that can concern people, and I'll get into some of that here in just a minute. So first, I just want to give an overview. One of the things that this software does is that currently we only look at 2 to 3% of our body camera footage because we can't just sit there and it just takes too much time. I mean, the amount of time that it would take to actually look at all of the body cam footage would be, you'd have to hire like another whole police department. So, so I review all use of force, anything involving higher risk like pursuits, things that are higher profile type cases. The sergeants review all of that along with also doing randomly 4 reviews every month. So just looking to see if there's good officer safety, how the officers are performing, are they being professional? And so we have all of this information, but we're not really able to do anything with it. I think there's probably a lot more learning moments, things that we can learn and do better. So the fact that it does that, basically what it's doing is it's transcribing everything. It does remove all the personal information of the people that are the officers interacting with. I've seen one of the transcripts. It actually has just little stars across. There's the person's name, address, phone numbers. It's not looking at any of that. But what it's looking for are the officers using profanity? Are they, and then is the other people, are they using profanity? And is the officer able to de-escalate the situation successfully and actually recognize the officer for doing that? I just watched the body camera today of an officer on a traffic stop, just a simple traffic stop, and this person was completely escalated. It just happened this weekend. And they were yelling and screaming at the officer, and literally it was just for the most minor of violations. So, anyway, the person ended up getting a ticket, but that's kind of an example of that. We wouldn't necessarily, the supervisors, know that that's happening unless they tell us that's happening. So the system actually flags those things that are both good and bad. If the officers are not being professional, it's going to notify us as supervisors to, hey, this is something we want to look at, and maybe it's a learning moment, or maybe it's something more than that. So,
Kind of holds everybody accountable at that point in time. Right?
it does.
As long as all of those controls stay on, because I also did a deep dive into this after I read this.
Sure.
And I like the idea that you can say, oh, is this officer behaving well? Is this officer not behaving well? Is this officer doing a great job at de-escalation? Because people do get crazy about traffic stops, so it's bananas. So as long as that's something you can't turn off.
Right. Well, as an administrator, I would be the only person with access to how the system is set up and works. I wouldn't see a reason that you'd ever turn something off or.
Please don't think I'm casting any slurs in your
Oh,
direction.
no, I don't-
Just in 10, 20 years, you may not be here. You may have decided it's time to retire,
Sure.
leave Idaho Springs to its,
You're gonna
you
have
know.
police robots.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and so let me touch on some of the other things, and I still, and I want to tell some stories about other agencies, what successes were, where there were failures. So that was that's the first part, is the auto redacting portion of auto body camera footage. All right, so the next big thing is the dictation. So officers can say, hey, Julio, I need to write a burglary report. So the NIBRS, the National Incident-Based Reporting System, has a certain number of criteria that would be in a burglary report, or hey, Julio, I want to write a DUI report. So when you say it to generate that, it's actually going to bring up a bullet point of the things you're going to want to address in that report. So you're going to want to ask about time of day and when was the property last seen secure, or when were the belongings stolen, and what was stolen, and so it's going to help guide the officers. And then when you get done with that report, you can actually ask the system, hey, Trulio, is there anything that I've missed in this report? Is there anything that would help this further help this investigation? And that sort of thing. So it'll help with that sort of report writing, but you're still dictating the report. So there is another system that's actually manufactured by Axon that some agencies are going to. The difference between that and what we're looking at is this system, number one, costs about 100 times more. And secondly, what it's doing is it's taking your body camera footage and it's creating the report based on your body camera footage, which sounds nifty, but that also brings some problems because it's called draft one. It's generating the report based on body camera footage, and as we all know, computers and trying to interpret what's happening, there could be some issues with that. We just implemented that system. So we're living in a technological world. I'm not really willing to go that far. Number two, it's absorbently expensive for the agency, our size of agency. So this still allows the officer to generate the report. They're generating it from their perception, not from AI reviewing a body cam footage and creating a report, which is two different things.
Well, AI is only 60% effective or correct most of the time. So any misunderstanding that it has from body cam could be detrimental.
Could be.
Could be.
There's some other issues with that too. Axon, obviously, they make tasers, they make weapons. So then there's this issue of now it's analyzing that, and you use a taser, and now so there's some
Yeah.
conflict that could feel a little off there.
Mhm.
So that's the next part, is the dictation. And then the last thing that I think is really important that I mentioned in the memo is when we went to JeffCom 911, we've saved a lot of money, that's great. But what we lost was the ability for officers to have immediate access to our records management system. Because JeffCom does not have access to that, nor do they want that, because they have a lot of other things they're doing. But what we can do as an officer can say, hey, Trulio, can you give me the call history of 123 Main Street? Hey, Trulio, John Smith, who lives there, has he ever been known to have weapons? Hey, Trulio, is there anyone with autism or a disability that lives at this address from past calls? I mean, it's looking into our RMS system live. It doesn't store any of that information because we have a big RMS system, but it goes right into that system. Basically, we buy one more license for our E4 system, and that's how it accesses that just instantaneously. You also can ask, hey, Trulio, what's our pursuit policy? Hey, Trulio, what's our uniform policy for the police department? So we'll have our policy manual is 567 pages long. So it's a very long, yes, so that would be uploaded. You can ask it anything about the policy manual. Hey, Trulio, what's the policy say about doing a burglary investigation? So yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful, the information. I do like the fact that they would be able to have direct access to the RMS system, because that information is power. Sometimes dispatch will have a call history in our the CAD system, but they don't have the report detail. They don't have what was in the incident report. They don't have access to any of that. So there's information in those reports that officers would have to real time, either while responding to the address or performing an investigation or what have you. So that's a big part of why I'm sitting here today. And let's see. So there are a few things I want to talk about. I think it's important. So this was instituted, there was a study done by the University of South Carolina, which I got here. And they used the Aurora Police Department, which was under consent decree at the time, and Sheriff's Department, Richland County Sheriff's Department. Aurora had some issues, let's just put it that way. And Richland County was an agency that didn't have really a lot of documented high profile issues. And so what they found in the study was that the professionalism went up immensely in both agencies. In fact, there's an article, a separate article here. This is by National Public Radio. It talks about how the review of cameras, unprofessionalism plummeted when it was in use. So the issue was that they implemented it, and then the chief left. Then they didn't renew their contract after 1 year, and then they got the results about 3 or 4 months after they did away with the contract. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. There's also another department that's been under the microscope. Seattle Police Department implemented this system, and then after a year, their union came forward and said, "You're spying on us. We don't like this, so we need to get rid of it." I know that, to me, that's concerning, because you're not being spied on. When you're at work, you're being paid by taxpayers.
Right,
You have a body camera with you.
I'm getting spied on, the
Everything-
library
yes,
has cameras.
everything you do is so you're not being spied on, but your level of professionalism needs to be par.
Right,
So I mean, I think that's kind of an interesting example, just one of the articles that I found. So one of the other things that I found, and then I'll open up to questions, was actually an article by the ACLU regarding AI and police reports. So the ACLU is very critical about the Draft One program that Axon has, and it's for some of the reasons that I mentioned. AI trying to interpret what's going on based on a video could be problematic. And then you bring in the whole use of force thing and the fact that they make weapons, tasers. Yeah, it could be a little, it just looks not
There's an
very well.
inherent conflict of interest.
So in the article that I found, again, very critical with that company, they don't mention this company by name, but on the last page of their report, the last paragraph says, if writing reports is a little short for police officers, there may be safer and more limited ways that AI can be used to help. For example, officers could make an audio recorded verbal narrative of what took place in a particular incident, and computers could transcribe those accounts and perhaps perform some light cleanup and formatting to create an editable first draft, which is exactly what this system does. And this is exactly word for word on this ACLU article. It says, along with her report, let's see, that would solve many of the issues highlighted above while potentially making life easier for police officers who, like most people, probably find it much faster and easier to speak than to write. So that's the way that this article basically ends up. But generating reports using that technology, they're definitely saying that's not a really good idea, and I don't disagree with that. So the last thing I'll say about it is the cost is obviously a consideration, and the fact that it's only $50 per officer per month to pay for this, and they don't charge for people that are veterans of the military, which we have 2, and they also don't charge for administrative license, which would be mine because I probably wouldn't use it as much as the officers. So we're paying for 6 licenses at $50 a month. So to me, it's well worth the investment. It would be a 1-year contract to start because that gives us a chance to try that and see. Their retention with anything they do retain is 60 days, which goes beyond which is less than our retention for any of our body cameras that we have. I think that the lowest one we have is 90 days, and it's for trash or just because turn it on whenever. So with that, I know that everything is encrypted and it's secure. It's been vetted by other outside people. And, so that's it. That's what it does.
Chief, I'd like to go around and get thoughts on this. I just wanted to say that I would hazard to guess if you look at a fully burdened officer, that's with benefits, you're probably pushing 100 Gs on an average. I only bring this up because $50 a month, that would only have to save about an hour. If this thing even averages an hour saving in a month, and there's potential to save several hours, I believe. But not only that, I think more than the money is the standard that you want to hold your department at. And this obviously would help you, for example, if someone continues, say, to make one up, use a lot of profanity or something. It would flag that for you, where normally you can't sit there and go through all 40 hours, of what they did that week. But this can highlight it. I really think, as you have alluded to, up the standard for the entire department. And that's a lot more than the money.
Well, and it's looking also, it's also looking at things like use of force. It's looking for, if someone says, I can't breathe. It's looking for, those phrases and that phrasing, like if you're in a pursuit or you're doing something. I mean, heaven forbid you have an officer that does something and they're not really, they don't notify their supervisor, or they're not following policy. I mean, the whole point is I trust the employees that we have, but I also live by the adage that it's trust but verify. Just verify that policies are being followed and that we have a professional organization. And so that's one part of it, but then the other part is just that direct benefit to the officers and saving some time with report writing, access to the RMS system. We've gone so far as to say they've actually had this system help in solving some old cases where they've uploaded boxes and boxes of materials, and they've asked the system to say, please identify from these materials the top suspect that you would, based on all the information. So I mean, it can go to other places. One of the things I had mentioned before, I don't think I mentioned it to this group, is you can actually ask the system and say, Trulio, for case number 250348, I have court in a day. Please ask me questions the defense attorney is likely to ask me, so that you can prepare for trial based on that case. So pretty fascinating as far as some of the layers and some of the things that how you can use the system.
Scott, what do you think?
So it's $50 per officer for 6 of those, is that
Correct.
so? There's endless amounts of things. I mean, have you discussed as a department, is the other officers positive about this? Do they know about this system?
Yes.
I think you're pretty aware of it.
I have. With the sergeant who's been testing the dictation piece, there's officers that are fully aware of that. They're excited about that. They're aware about this body camera issue, that I say issue, because no one's come running to me and saying they think they're going to be spied on or this isn't fair. I think it's because I would put us as an agency who has employees that want to follow the policy, they want to follow and do the right thing and treat people well. But,
I mean, watched all the time in the public eye anyways.
Correct.
But I think the benefits are endless, because I see it as help, like liability issues we might have if something's not done right. I mean, we have that right there. Younger officers getting that information, that source of information is, I mean, that's really nice for them to have it, because it goes step by step and explain how to do all this stuff.
Yes,
You might miss something on a report, then it gets thrown out of court, if I'm not mistaken, right?
correct. And our system would also have all of Colorado statutes, so and it would have Idaho Springs ordinances. All of code is in there. So the officer can say, Trulio, what's the best statute to fit this circumstance? And it's gonna spit out what statute is likely to fit. So it's really, it's sold as that officer assistant. It's an assistant to the officer.
Very amazing. The dictation, I'm surprised that hasn't been a thing for police forces before.
It has. It has.
In a different format, I guess this is AI doing it, but
Correct.
I mean, like you said, doctors use it all the time. I imagine police forces have used it and it's very beneficial, I'm sure.
There are a number of companies and places that actually do have dictation, and officers have done that now also for quite a long time.
Yeah, because in the courts and with police officers too, I'm sure when you recall memory, when you do it, your memory is clear. When you recall memory 24 hours later, it gets a little cloudy. If it's a week later, I'm sure it's even more cloudy.
Right.
But that's found out in courts too. I mean, people say that's how they remember something, but how do you know it's actually 100% true? Because over time, the memory thing goes away. So having current when it happens, I think is really important.
Janine, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I appreciate all the applications and the different uses of this that you shared in the articles especially. I mean, I use AI in my job all the time. I know personally how helpful it can be. Just a consideration, maybe we were using AI for a while and had no policies and procedures about actually using it. So
Right.
just maybe a thought of something to consider.
That we have that.
We
So
have it.
we already, number one, we already have a policy about AI because Lexipol provides that. But we also we were given a sample recommended policy from this company. That's, I want to say it's probably 12, 15 pages long. So what I need to do is I need to go in and look to see, we're lucky with Lexipol because there's attorneys that help keep our policy up to date because the goalposts are kind of always moving with legislation. So, but yes, you're right. That would have to be part of this, and it would have to be approved, and all the officers would digitally sign off on that before we actually start.
All right, good point. Lisa?
I don't really have a problem with AI and the dictation. I've been using dictation to write for 10 years.
Don't you do it like this on your text?
No, I use a computer, but I can double my outward output if I use, dictation, absolutely. So I think that would be a lot easier. I think Scott's point about instant recall right after the fact is really important versus recall 3 days later when you have a chance to write your reports. I think the ability to see what kind of calls you had before is super important. I know I've done that. And we don't have right, it doesn't have a report, it just has, there was a call for this instance versus this is what actually happened. I think my concern with, from the reading that I did of the departments that are using it, and the fact that so many departments have said, no, we don't want it, says a lot to me. When you see some of the departments that are saying they don't, after it has been imposed upon them. Right now, New York and LA are working. And I'm waiting to, I'd like to see what happens with that because that's its own kettle of fish. I would like to see if we do this, because I like your reports that you do every year. I would like to see, did you see an uptick in professionalism? Did you see officers looking for training on better things? Did you see good things? Did you see bad things? Because one of the critiques that I read about this is that these departments don't want to share. Now, I don't think we have the same problems some of these police departments that are being profiled, but they don't want to share what they're finding. And that goes along with the accountability. I feel like all of us in this room are accountable. So if we do this, it needs to be another piece of that accountability. But I think more than the accountability, I think the dictation is going to save so much effort.
I agree. I would definitely include, I haven't seen sort of the end user reports that you can run off that system. But there's definitely a way for us to be able to manage that.
Well, the
Share
things
our
that I was reading were
analysis.
things like, does the officer come into the situation and do they explain? Are they being,
Right.
do we start off at a low level or do we come in and command and say, you need to do this now? And that sets the tone of the interaction. And if that is how, an employee is trained or behaves, that's going to change the level of interaction.
One of the things I thought was interesting is that one of the articles, or one of the things I read said something about it can introduce bias because AI is doing it. And I actually think the opposite. I think when you have sergeants reviewing another officer, let's just say the sergeant tends to be someone who, I'm not saying it's what's happened, but if that sergeant's kind of a little crass or says things and then they're reviewing it, I mean, it removes that. It removes that person being, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna be able to monitor and see what's being flagged and how that's gonna work and be very hands-on as this kicks off versus here, you guys figure this out. I'm gonna be very hands-on on how this is gonna work.
I think that's good because I watch in my industry as people are trying to make AI work, and AI is only as good as the input that you give it. You know, I mean, I'm watching this struggle happen daily. On the other hand, I've also watched AI where AI, like the computer program comes back and says, hey, we need to do a little catch file, make sure you're human, and the AI goes, hey, I need a voice prompt. And AI has figured out how to do that. So depending on how you program it, I don't know that we can get to that level of AI.
Well, the AI that you're using is a closed system, am I
Yes.
correct? Okay, so the internet's AI, like you said, only gets what they get. So they get false information and they dilute it with the truth. So that's where the messiness of that is. The only thing I'm concerned about, honestly, Chief, is that AI is just one more wasteful thing because right now it's not energy efficient. It uses a ton of water. And so it's just one more thing until it's actually refined that we're going to
This is true.
waste until we've already dived into the pool. We're swimming, but the water's running out of the pool as far as I'm concerned. But otherwise, I think it's gonna be helpful for you guys.
All right,
Thank you
all
guys.
right, well, thanks, Chief, appreciate it.
Appreciate it. The cost is minimal, but I wanted to make sure that there was a discussion with all of you. So you're not like, wait, what? The police are doing what?
Yeah.
They've done what? So I just felt it was important to come and listen to all of you too.
My phone dictates everything I say every day by accident, so you guys just be careful out there.
Right.
All right, well, thank you very much.
I'm like, oh my God.
Dylan, we're gonna go to you next on the Dr. Cog Housing Needs Assessment,
Sure, yeah.
and that was an exhaustive report.
Well, I mean, the report was obviously prepared by
Yes.
COG, right?
Yeah.
So, I figured if, in case anyone wanted light read, there is a lot of really good information in there. So there's kind of 2 points to make before diving in. The first is we are required, since we have over 1,000 people, to have a regional or housing needs assessment by the end of next year. It can be local or regional. And it only makes sense really for us to do with the county and the other municipalities. And the county is just opting into this. I've talked to them and they've said, why duplicate working? The second thing, so anyway, that would be reason number one to sort of provide comments and
They also just, because we talked about the housing authority, we're worried also, we did a regional, like a Clear Creek one, that Evergreen would drive our numbers up even
Of
lower
course.
than this, so that it wasn't gonna be more accurate numbers, even if we did it.
right. And so the second caveat plays perfectly off that is, we all know, and we've talked about this recently in work sessions, that the Denver region's median income is much higher than
Oh, yeah.
our median income. And so that's the sort of grain of salt that we have to take when opting into this. But what I think this does quite well is it shows, when you look at like the slides that were created specifically for Idaho Springs, the overwhelming need for housing is in the 0 to 50% of AMI of the Denver region. And so what this, I think, shows is that even though we're using Denver regional data, that Denver regional data shows that most of our need is much lower than in Denver as a whole. And so we can still, I think, use this data effectively to fulfill our housing needs assessment requirement while also then building off of it to create action plans that we can implement to create more housing. So that, so basically we can opt in, we just have to provide comments at a public meeting. And so we put in the regular meeting, a move to sort of opt in, but we don't really have to do that. So if we just have comments that we want to provide, and the comment could be no comments, we think this is great, we're in, and we don't have to do any sort of extra work.
Well, and I feel, Dylan, it doesn't hurt us,
Right.
There's nothing bad that's happening here.
Because it is data driven, and we could still, let's say next year, as we get closer to the deadline, do our own and kind of update this data to be more specific. But
No, I was gonna exactly say that, it doesn't preclude us from doing our own one in the future.
right, and talking with like DOLA, because I've had a couple meetings with them recently, there didn't seem to be any real downside to opting in because we wouldn't be punished, I guess, rather than saying, well, hey, back in 2025, you said you're part of the Denver region or something like that. Basically, what the data shows is that they think by 2022, we need 105 new housing units. Bear Creek County needs 225. In total, we would need 420 total units across all AMIs, market rate, to basically Section 8, completely subsidized housing. And most of that falls into the range of 0 to 50% of AMI. And so about half of it is at that level, and then half of it is like probably what the market could really build. And so it also, I think the next biggest thing that is huge is it says that probably 60% of renters in the community are currently house burdened, which means they spend more than 30% of their income on housing. And so if we consider like the Chaffa data that shows, well, what's 100% of AMI per this chart, you know, it's like $2,500 a month would be affordable at 100%. That's clearly not true. We know that, I don't know what the average rent is in Idaho Springs right now. It's probably $1,000 less than that, let's say, and people are still housing burdened. When renting. And so what I think this allows us to do, besides just checking the box, is we can then build off of that into our next topic by saying, well, we know we need this housing, so we are only going to support housing that meets this specific portion of the goal because we don't really need to hit these higher levels. And not for nothing, we are getting with the some of the projects currently in the works, we will have satisfied all of our 80% plus by 2032. So I think the quest for direction is like, what comments do we have on this? And it could be as simple as what the planning commission said, which was like, we'd like to see a little bit more granular data that shows, you know, like within 0 to 50, is it really 50 or is it really like 20? What's the real need? And the other comment was what we brought up, that our AMI is tied to the Denver region, so that always has to be a win. So we take it, but what we talked about before.
Kate, what do you think?
I think that it doesn't penalize us to like review it as we go along. I kind of would like to have our own data, but right now, that's cost, I would imagine, to have that established. So let's save our pennies for another day and just go forward.
Lisa?
I agree, it doesn't penalize us. I'm also with you. I'd like to see our own, for the reason that our AMI is tied to Denver and our AMI is lower.
Yeah.
I like the planning commission's point about, I'd like to see who needs 25% of AMI versus who needs 50%. Because I think like this report, both the reports, the slides you did for us and the slides from Dr. Coggle, I thought were pretty sobering. And I would like to ask them, how do they plan to, one of the comments they made in their report was that affordable housing, regardless of what AMI standards we're using, is not going to happen without government aid and intervention. How do they plan to do that? And how can that trickle down to help communities like ours, where we don't have a lot of land and we certainly don't have a lot of funding for this? I mean, we're doing what we can with the senior housing, and that is going to strap us. So how do they plan to make that trickle down kind of effect actually work with this information?
Well, and just to give a sense of the difference between like 25% and 50% for the like Chaffa HUD Section 8 rent limits, 50% would be a 1-bedroom apartment at like $1,300, and 30% is like $780. And so that's a huge range.
That's a big
And if
difference.
we said, hey, we've checked our box, we built 50 units that are 50%, we've achieved it, we probably actually haven't achieved it. Because people, that still is $500 for them.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Janine, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like so with the housing authority, we're starting to do the strategic planning of like what that authority actually like wants to do, because there's many ways that you could go with it. So I just think like sharing this data and like if the direction is like we do want to come in the platform, I'm happy to present that, it wouldn't be low. I don't know if you're thinking, I know it's been specific.
I think countywide, but
Yeah.
definitely maybe specific, you know, each municipality.
And we do have a 2018 one that was done exactly like that, so it's countywide, but it does say each one, but that's so out of date.
It's so out of date.
Empire needs 7 units. I read that. They
Yeah.
may need more at this point.
Oh, yeah, they don't want
That's
any
true.
growth whatsoever, yeah.
Silver plumbing.
Well,
Yeah.
I think some
Oh,
of
and-
these figures are pretty eye-opening. I'm curious, I think a lot of this is projections for the future. And I don't know where they get their data, but you have to trust the data is correct when they do these reports. And sometimes I question that, you know, how in depth is it? I know there's probably a lot of mom and pop landlords that keep their rents pretty low. So in my experience, I don't know if they get those in the mix, but like 30%, I agree that a lot of renters are paying more than 30%.
700 is a room. I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's not a, that's not.
There's
one
few
bedroom.
pockets of mom and pops that I was like, you're only charging that much for the rent, you know, it's these individuals a lot of times, but as soon as an investor gets a hold of it, rent's going to market, you know, market value.
So that comment kind of would be to make sure that data is collected in such a way that it gets all sources of rentals, not just kind of like property management, things like that.
Yeah, I don't know where they collect their data
Yeah.
and how do they project what the population's gonna do over time.
What about like
You know, the
long
future
stays?
needs.
Like, are they saying what the people who are doing long-term stays?
Yeah.
So make sure they have that data, what they're
That's,
paying.
that's a key comment as well, I think, is that, you know, we know that there's, well, now that we have the extended stay lodging, now we
It's
know
almost impossible.
and legally know that there's folks living long-term in hotels. Does data account for that? Because that probably shows them even more.
Like our current needs, I mean, how do they come up with our current need? Is those people the ones staying in those hotels, or how do they determine our current housing need right now? Does that mean those people would move into our area if we had that housing, or? I'd be curious of
I
all
know
the
people that
data
are
behind.
working in this area and were living in these, in housing, in long-term stay, who were there for like a year. Like, they stayed for a year and they finally, you know, decided to move into an actual rental. But they couldn't find any. They were
So
very
where
struggling.
would they be living if we need those housing units for those people? Where are they living now? Are they outside of our area?
No, now they're outside of our, they couldn't live in it, but they still work in it. And I think like, if we're gonna continue, you know, I mean, we need people to service our tourist industry that is keeping us going. People can't afford to live here. What happens to our industry that is here? Because we don't have any other industry.
But I'm just saying, like, across the state, we have this current need of housing. That need of housing, where are those people staying right now?
A lot of times they don't stay in their communities.
But isn't it based on like years growth? I mean, when I got to Colorado in 1990, there was nobody here.
Yeah, it looks
Like,
future
My rent was $100 a month in City Park. So there was nobody here, like the eighties had emptied out Denver. So isn't this just a progression of what they assume is gonna move into the state, and that's what they're talking about, like housing will be needed because this many people are moving to the state?
Yeah,
My understanding is that Colorado actually is one of the exodus states, so it's not necessarily a growth state right now. So, like what Scott said, it might not be, like, this might be an over, like, I don't wanna be a state that's just full of empty houses either, you know what I mean? So there's also
Yeah.
that.
that is interesting data because when I was talking with planning commission last week, I pulled some numbers that back in, as I've been working on the comprehensive plan, it's like back when 2017 comprehensive plan was done, Colorado was the second fastest growing state, and now Colorado is like the 16th fastest growing
Mhm.
state. And so
It's because of the cost of living.
there is
It's
still
extremely
a
high.
very moderate or small growth still like there. And
But
you
it's a
can see it-
demographic that's not a worker bee demographic, it's a higher end demographic from, you're leaving a $600,000 or $700,000 home, coming to a place where you can get that
Yeah.
pretty easily.
And then you
Not
were
as big as
saying
where you left, but
you'd like to study that's more demographic in our area. I think that would be quite costly though.
it would be costly, and I don't know how we do that at this point, but
So I think there's
that's what I would
other,
like.
besides this study here, Dylan probably is aware of these a little bit, but there are also other things on the internet. I think one of them is called Fred or something like that. You listen to a podcast and they've talked about that. There's a study, and I don't know who does those studies, if it's government or private, but there's access to other studies. But I don't know that it would be specific to our area as much as we'd like to have them, but.
And there was a grant for
regional.
the housing needs assessment, but we didn't do it because, well, the housing authority just didn't have just hired an executive director. There was no capacity to do it. But the hope is there's another grant cycle for that opens up.
Yeah, talking with DOLA, they said there should be a third round of funding to get funded to do regional housing needs assessments or local, or do housing action plans, which build off of the assessments. And it should open like in the winter, but we've missed 2 grant cycles because the housing authority wasn't ready and the county just wanted to operate this. And so I feel like right now, our hands are sort of tied to opt-ins. And then hopefully the county and the housing authority are up to speed and we can get some funding in the winter.
And I think we all probably agree that our housing needs are the lower medium income people that are paying that above 30%. I know
Exactly.
it's not uncommon that people are paying close to 50% of their income for housing, I think, in some instances. And that's where the great need is, to have lower rents for those kind of people. But the private developer has a problem producing those because of cost of building, if you have a new project. And the cost of buying an existing home is also high. So I agree with the point that someone made, that it has to be somehow government assistance in a lot of these situations.
Absolutely.
That's the only way you're gonna get it.
Yeah, no private investor is gonna step forward and
No.
say, I'm.
And I don't blame 'em.
feeling
What
generous
private
today."
investor wants
Nobody.
to do a project
Where he
and then
loses
break
money.
even?
Or, yeah,
Who
You
wants
know,
to break even?
Even when you talk about the mom and pops who are renting, if they're renting below market value, it's because the house is paid off.
exactly.
And then,
Right,
That's
those
still-
are the ones, there's still pockets of those.
but that is still a financial win for them. Like, they're not being a bad
No, they're
business
awesome.
person.
So,
They're actually making money for them
well,
because.
Chuck and I probably both have some of those.
Well, I mean, but
We do.
in Denver, it's everywhere.
We're nice enough not to raise the rent to market value in some places.
Housing is really the one thing that you can see that people are kind of. I don't know what the nice word is, but there's not a nice word for, like, I don't wanna use the R word, but literally taking advantage of the masses. We went to a new restaurant in Denver. It's in a new build, new restaurant, same food that we get, same quality that we get here and there, but the food was 3 times as much. And I said, well, we're just paying for the building at this point in time. The place that we go has been there for 57 years, and that building has been well paid off, and we pay the same amount that I paid 30 years ago. So it's just the same thing, is that they're like, this is all the people that we get, but we don't have to raise our prices, so we're still doing well.
You're exactly right. I just went to a place that was rather bougie because there was nothing spectacular about the food. It was just 2.5 times.
Yep,
You know,
What you could get someplace
I'll
else.
never go back.
yeah,
And I'm sorry. I was paying for the building.
you're paying for the building, exactly.
I think going back to the earlier point about, okay, so governments have to subsidize it, I think then we have to, is that us? Cause then I think we need
No.
to challenge the viewpoint developers pay their own way, or is that the state government? Like, I think that's a question we need to answer.
Well, I
for
mean,
what we're willing to do.
this is a
Well,
very
developers
political
subsidize.
conversation though, because when you have the national, it's coming out of the out of Washington, that we need more babies, and you're not, creating housing for those more babies, then that becomes a problem. Like, there's no housing, healthcare, and education for these more babies.
Well,
So
I
it
have-
should be the federal government paying for it, if you're the
Well,
one
yeah.
demanding it.
When I first moved here, I ran into Jan Boland of all people, and she told me that if we were here in some, it was like 2012, we were here in some development kind of meeting for Idaho Springs. And she said, if we don't get more young families in this city is going to.
Well,
And
I
I've
happen to agree
never
with that.
forgotten that, ever. And we have gotten more young families, but are we making it feasible for all young, families,
Well, I will tell you that from my experience of working at the library, and I worked at a school in Evergreen for 9 years, a charter school. We have more probably per capita families homeschooling right now, so therefore not paying into our system than I've ever heard of ever. And I had a pretty strong contingent of families that came in that had homeschooled to like second grade. But this is what they're doing here. So even though we have young families, they're not paying into our school districts. So that's not going to really ultimately keep us young. You know what I mean? I don't know how long that's
So
sustainable.
that's a school district issue, like that's.
But it still plays into, are they really participating in the other things that make for a young community? Because if you're busy homeschooling, you guys all have kids. Well, us, we don't have kids, but if you're homeschooling, I would imagine that 90% of your day is taken up. There is no extracurricular
Not
coming to
necessarily.
planning.
I've homeschooled.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just know the amount of time that my parents said that they were dedicating 7 to 8 hours a day of full-time homeschooling. That seems like a full-time job. So you can't afford to go out to restaurants, you can't afford to buy things in town. It's just, that's, I don't know.
And Kate, just to pile on a little bit with the affordability factor and perhaps being a negative growth state, the state demographer was addressing Dr. Cog. I make every meeting and work sessions, you name it. So I've been through like every page of this while we were developing it. And the demographer will say, hey, did you hear about the 70,000 people a year that are moving to Colorado? Yeah. Did you hear about the 55,000 every year that are leaving? And he said, sadly, our statistics are from a couple of years ago. He said, truth be told, as we are in the room today, we may be flat, yeah.
And what is the demographic that's coming in, and what is the demographic that's leaving? Is the
Well-
demographic that's coming in going to be child rearing? I mean,
Well, and this is where the affordability factor in children come in, because the number one reason, hands down, why people choose to leave is the cost of housing.
mhm.
So, we're one of the highest cost states. And oddly enough, some may say it's positive, some may say it's negative, but like the main states that are moving here are California and Texan. And it'll come to me.
That better not be Arkansas, check, I'm leaving.
No, it's not Arkansas. No. But I can tell you,
Walking
California
out
and
of this
Texas.
room right now.
Actually, we're two of the number one that
Please don't be
we're
Florida either.
moving to Colorado. But it was very interesting. Those states are also in the top 5 people are moving out of and going to. So it's interesting, I know, and I'm just saying that, like Scott,
Oh, daredevils.
I would just flat tell you-
Right now.
I do not believe for 1 second the statistics for need in Idaho Springs. I personally, because this is what I've done for a long time, I believe it is wildly low, but you know what? I don't have to be right. That's fine.
Right,
Because it doesn't hurt us in any way, shape or form, and we can look at these numbers, in the future and be part of the solution.
I don't wanna waste any more time on this if we wanna move on, but I do have a question for you guys, since you are kind of like, landlords.
Yeah.
Was there a culture when you guys first started doing this of moving around from different property to different property? And that is why people on Facebook will say, I can't afford to live here anymore, because they've moved, they moved from an affordable place, they wanted someplace bigger. Is it because they're transient in
Well,
nature?
I'll tell you, not with me.
Not with you, okay. Not either, okay. I just have always, because if you've rented that many places in the place that you've lived for 40 years, I start to question. 40 years ago, this was a very, very, very affordable place to buy a house. So,
Yes, but I know people that have been living in the same place for 20 years.
Well, and Chuck and I
In
have
rental.
like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I've had 2 different groups that not at all affiliated, that just happened to both rent from me for 18 years. I never raised the rent in 18 years.
well, I mean,
But
that's
then when they
wonderful.
moved out, I more than doubled the rent.
I'm sure you would. Well, and why wouldn't you?
So,
Anyways,
I don't know, politically, I should say this, but the 121 units at market rates, I don't know how fast those are gonna fill up.
Oh, I don't think so either.
they're
They
it's
just got
70 to
grants.
100 now.
They just
It's
got a grant
70%
where they have to go below.
But still, that may
Well,
not be a great average for
A
our
lot of
community.
A-class multifamily complexes are offering 2 months free rent to get somebody in to sign a lease.
Are you talking about 4 points?
Well, I mean, anything, any new development, because the cost of the development and the cost of the rent, a lot of times they give incentives to get people in there.
And our understanding is that Four Points, took $8.5 million of state 123 money, to buy it down to the 70 to 100, so.
Oh, good.
So yeah, we'll,
Hopefully that'll
That's
help.
good for a community.
I hope that the
But
housing.
unfortunately,
authority will
that's
keep
70 to
looking at
100%
that and
of
make sure
Denver
that they
AMI.
actually.
Still
Yeah, I think
lower
the
than what it
state's
was, right?
responsible
It's
for
still
Yes.
lower than what they would have
Quite
been
a bit,
asking,
quite a bit.
right? So
Yeah.
that's,
Sorry if I.
they probably saw the writing. on the
And,
wall.
everybody okay if we move on to the next one?
Yep.
Okay, next up, we will talk about the IHOP housing policy analysis.
Sure, so this is kind of, I mean, it leads sort of right in from what we just talked about, and this is sort of an update item more so than any sort of request for direction, but, so, you know, as everyone probably recalls, last couple of years, we had an integrated housing opportunity program, IHOP grant, to do this program called the Clear Path Home, to develop sort of recommendations based on an audit of our codes and things like that, to be able to pass along so that we could start making changes that could give everyone a clear path to a home. You know, that was so this was actually kind of published over a year ago now, the regional one. Ours, for some reason, it was, I think it kind of got dropped when John was with it. But I still don't have the fancy like final version, so I included the draft version. But I wanted to bring this up because we've already kind of started working on quite a lot of these things.
Yeah.
For example, we've addressed basically all of the ADU related recommendations and rolled them in and just passed them at the last meeting. So, other than kind of a discussion about waivers and incentives, which I think builds off of Janine's point on historically, developers pay their own way, and that's kind of been a challenge, at least at the state level. And I think it also comes to on a similar point, I think what this document does, it sort of speaks to Scott's point of like what kind of housing is desirable these days and what cities should focus on, because I think Scott, you're right, there's not as much desirability for apartments anymore because to Kate's point, historically, I think I talked to Kent Slingmaker, who was on planning commission about this recently. He said, you know, historically, he saw a lot of people, you know, you get an apartment and then you can afford a small home and then you afford a forever home. And now people are just staying in whatever they can afford and then they never move. And then that creates an affordability sort of vacuum as well. And then talking with, I was talking to Kelsey from our office today. She mentioned that a lot of units at her apartment building in Georgetown on the lake there are just vacant at the moment. So what I
Which one of the
take,
new ones?
kind of the ones that are closest to farthest ones, I think. But I think what I take from these and this IHOP document that they've come up with is maybe the strategy that we have to do is how do we focus on, instead of some of these recommendations on like multifamily housing development that people maybe don't really want, can we figure out places to build, maybe it's not in the city and it's in the county, but like little single family homes. And I think about Summit County as a good example of this. They have two I can think of wildly successful the locals neighborhoods, one in Wellington, one's in Frisco, one's in Breckenridge, and people are on wait lists for like years, and there's a huge lottery with hundreds of names every time a single family home comes up. And when a apartment comes up, people can't, like they can't qualify because the AMI levels are too low, but B, people don't want to move into a 500 square foot apartment. And so I'm sort of thinking, you know, one of the big things that this recommends is upzoning things, which gets real complicated quite quickly, and saying, well, where would we want people to be able to knock down single family homes and build duplexes? Like maybe there's places that works, but I don't know how many places in town that works.
How did Buena Vista manage to do that kind of unique little neighborhood they have next to the river that is it's basically single-family townhouses, because it, like, this block will be contemporary, and this block over there will be Victorian. I mean, that came up pretty suddenly, you know, BB is still, they don't have a rec center, they, I mean, they don't have a lot of the amenities that we have here. And I'm just wondering, did they get grant money for that? Did they, I mean, it would be something to
I think
look
they did.
into, because it's very well established, there's a mix of commercial and single-family homes, they're units, but they're like the townhousey things that are in Georgetown, and they must be affordable, because, you know, when you go through there, the neighborhood's thriving and pretty well packed. So I'm just curious how that ever came about.
Well, if we can find a way, what you said in this IHOP report is that our big needs are workforce housing and senior housing. We can, as a city, can find a way to move the senior housing projects forward. How do we then address the workforce housing? And do we do things like hostels? Do we do, you know, the apartments? Do we do the townhome? Like, do we have a mix of kind of, I don't know.
Right, I think it kind of comes down to, we know we have a very limited availability of land. And we know that there's this prevailing sentiment that in order to develop something that's actually affordable, there has to be some sort of kickback, whether it's a grant or a waiver of some fee or something to make it affordable for the developer. Or the city or community has to do it and subsidize it that way, redevelop this in your housing. And so I sort of lost my train of thought in the middle there, but
Well, it seems like we, like with this, we have affordable apartments, right, and we have a few, it seems like the single family home affordability is what's, and I feel like reading the Facebook group, there's a lot of comments on the one post with that suggestion, it seems to be something where people are like, yeah, like, why can't we have an affordable home and not just an apartment?
Well, I mean, there's a lot involved here. I mean, we are becoming a bigger renter nation. I mean, there's the majority of people renting is increasing every year by a percentage, you know. Some people, for whatever reason, they don't even have a desire to buy a home, but a lot of people do, and then they're restricted by their income, so what they can afford, so. When you're talking about getting people into buying a house, I mean, there's only a few programs like affordable housing and those kind of government assistance programs that can get them into those type of things. I mean, there's more assisted projects that are on the renter investment, like development.
I think what I'd like to do with,
But like you said, I think a mixture is what we're heading for, and Lisa touched on, or Kate both touched on, I think we're getting into more efficiency-based housing than ever before. Not the house with a big yard and type of thing. The spaces are used to utmost. You
But
get two
also-
houses there on a small little.
We live in a town where we are cheek by jowl with our neighbors, like, I don't know
It's
about
not
you
that
guys.
of character with the town.
No, you look over and you're like, hey neighbor, what's up? And your neighbor's doing the dishes over in the window 7
Right.
feet from you.
Yeah,
So I don't think that, like, small spaces are not, I think if we could do efficient housing in a smaller space, I think we are getting more efficient in how we're looking at housing. We don't need to make mansions anymore.
Yeah, but that Wellington neighborhood in Breckenridge, those are pretty small, right?
they're pretty small and they are basically on top of each other. It
Yeah.
looks like it's the modern mountain aesthetic,
My
like
coworker lives in one
architecture,
of those.
but it's the density of like our historic neighborhoods.
well, and I think we were all on the council when that architect brought those city lots. Cause I was pretty amazed how they could fit a house on some of
Yes.
those
Yeah.
small lots.
Right.
So I mean,
So,
that was pretty eye-opening.
But I
I
think
wouldn't get two houses there.
But I think there's
Wow.
ways to like also build the house so that like, what is our big problem? Storage, you know, and
Parking.
space, parking. But storage and spaces within your house, you can have a smaller house if your storage and your spaces are efficient. And you don't feel like your house is falling down around you. How do we help sustain that? How do we help start that and then sustain it?
I'll move, somebody can build a house on the other lot, and I'll get out of here.
Well, you got plenty of room.
We do.
She has a big lot.
Yeah, huge.
Just to answer your question, South Main and Buena Vista is what that development's called.
Yep.
I don't think it's covenant controlled, I don't think it's affordable housing, I think it's straight market.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking at it right now, for instance, a lot, vacant land is 430,000.
Oh, my God.
A townhome is $880,000 and a freestanding house is 2.1 million.
I
I
thought
wanna
our.
be-
Guys,
I
thank
wanna
you for
be-
getting
but
to the bottom of that.
I also, just so you guys, full transparency, my husband and I have been looking for a house in Buena Vista. And we did come across a few that were under $400,000 on like 2 acres in town. So it's that they have a very varied, like it depends on the year. The one that Doug always wants the oldest house in the neighborhood, not doing that anymore. But I mean, we found one that was in pretty good shape for, I think it was like $460,000. And it was on 2 acres and it was in town. So I think it just depends on where you're looking in Buena
This is
Vista.
kind of a new urbanist, it has restaurants, a hotel,
Yeah.
it's by the, what, right? by the
Water.
park.
Yeah, the farther away you get from the water,
If
the
you get
less
across by the
expensive.
golf course route near there, or south of the golf course.
Yep.
And those are some of the more
Yeah,
famous ones.
I have friends that just bought one that's about 15 years old and that was in the 1 point something million, so.
Well, anything further on the IHOP policy?
No, I think there's good direction here to say like. Creating priorities within these recommendations that kind of say, well, we want to preserve character and preserve these sorts of things that are important to us, but allowing efficient development that. Fills complements is something that we kind of want.
Yeah.
There's so much potential for the east end of town if the properties that are for sale weren't so incredibly for sale. One other question I had for Dylan. Dylan, in the long ago, this is gonna be a little off topic, guys, so bear with me. When we were talking about the parking structure behind Tommy Knockers, I'm not even sure you were on council yet.
Yeah.
You were, okay. Why did we choose that spot? It was because
Oh,
right,
I can tell you.
well, but let me just say this. Wildfire has now sat vacant for 5 years. That would be a perfect parking structure spot.
Kate, I want you to know, the land behind. has-
Starbucks,
Right, Starbucks has that.
but if we went into some sort of cooperation with Starbucks where we say, you get to have parking spots forever in the parking structure, anyway, I'm just saying,
But I just want you to know, Tommy Knockers was the path of least resistance
Right.
because they have no view shed to mess up.
right,
Right, no windows up the
Right.
back.
It makes
And,
sense.
all of the downtown parking money, is a zone enterprise. It's
Right.
been sequestered and can only go to fix the parking problem or downtown improvements.
Hmm.
And then, we were successful, of course, with the $2.4 million, raised grant for the design. And, I think we're gonna do a debrief this month as to why we didn't get the construction grant. And we've been, encouraged to apply next year for the construction grant.
okay.
And it was just a little trip down memory lane.
If that doesn't happen though, I like this idea, like, one of the things that we've talked about before is, I know somewhere in the years that I've been on council, is parking outside of the downtown area and a shuttle. Let's get a shuttle, let's
Well-
build the parking somewhere else.
All these things we're talking about, the parking, this housing. We're talking about more density in this city.
Hey.
And I'm not only concerned about parking, but what about traffic? Traffic in
It's-
this city. We're gonna get a good dose when those 121 units fill up. We're gonna see a lot, we're gonna see some difference.
I think, I will disagree, I think we're already seeing the differences. You know, I've had people say to me, I want it to go back to the way it was, and I was like, it's not going back the way it was, like,
Well, we get the highway traffic that comes right
but you
into
know,
our
if you look at
town.
what's happening downtown, we're busy downtown on days that 5 years ago, we were not.
During the week.
Like during the week, like 2:30 on a Tuesday
And the
afternoon,
volume on that highway has increased by quite a bit.
but actually it's down. Didn't we get a study that it's traffic on 70 is down?
It's down a little bit, since the I-70 construction. And we know that most municipalities, sales tax are down and down dramatically. Georgia, who's the police judge, in Georgetown, said that, she believes their sales tax numbers are down between 15 and 20%.
But that's been coming for a while,
Well,
like G-Town is,
But you're,
But you think their main street is quite a bit off the exit, we were just right there,
I
we were
lived there,
right off
Scott.
the highway.
And when we were off on
and-
off
and-
days,
and
it used to be
I'm
packed.
sorry, we just have one
Yes,
more
sorry.
Sorry.
topic, and guys, please take it away just with the history that Guy is fully aware of. We have been down this road a number of times, maybe, I don't know, fifth time's a charm.
This is, talk about some potential ballot issues, for this fall. Two that sprang from a conversation we had at the last work session, as the clerk and the city treasurer, as the mayor said, that has reappeared over the years. The third one, though, is something that we ran into recently, and it's kind of arcane, and it comes from you being a statutory municipality. But state statute requires that you post your bills, basically, in a newsletter or newspaper general circulation.
I saw that.
That's the Clear Creek, paper. Unless the citizens via vote, say that you don't have to do that. And that's something that, for instance, you just put it on your website. That may save you a couple $1,000s a year, so it's not something we bring to you. Nick is here for legal counsel to discuss any of the legal issues about this. I think we would be asking for some direction simply because we would have to have ballot language back to you for your approval at the next meeting if you want to take any of these to this fall ballot.
If it saves us money, is anybody reading the bills in the there?
Okay, there are people who still read the paper, but I think they read digital paper.
I mean, I'm all for taking it away and putting it on our website. Our website's very functional now,
Yeah,
so.
I prefer.
You
the
actually
website.
post it in your minutes.
Right.
You post it while it's
Yeah.
happening. You can put it in the website's just fine. Carmen actually, I think, does get a hard copy of this.
I share it with her. Yeah, I'm always reading.
I mean, yeah, we can put it on the ballot, obviously, it's not gonna be up to us ultimately.
Right, I mean,
but-
I say throw everything at the
Why
wall
not?
when it comes to that sort of thing, but
I think that maybe to move this along and just like, I guess, how I would run this is all three of these different ballot issues, yes, no, if there's interest. And then we can talk about what the ballot language should look like, since there is some flexibility there.
A question about the city clerk and treasurer ones. I know we've talked in the past about becoming like home rule, and I literally have no idea what that means or what it entails. But would that negate this situation?
Possibly, I mean, it all depends on what your charter says, but to become a home rule municipality is like,
I know
there's
it's
like a whole
thing.
process.
Oh, that's like a 5-year process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but
so-
just,
It can be 18 to 24 months. But it's a process.
It's
but
process.
it is possible to go to vote and have the two elected positions taken off and have them as appointed only.
Right now, yes.
So,
And no one really does that anymore. I mean, like, our other client, Wheat Ridge, is looking at eliminating their elected
Stuff too.
treasurer and.
They're
clerk.
just like figureheads.
they're figureheads, I mean, and again, I swear to you, we had, when I was on council last, our treasurer was sleeping in the audience. So that was the elected official, so that's why we went to this direction. I'm all for eliminating this 100%.
I'm a yes on all of these.
Janine?
yeah, I think the way it's written, it makes it look like we want less oversight, and I'm sure that's why I got voted no.
But that's
I
good,
think it
that's good dialogue.
Yeah, I think just, yeah.
But I mean, I think it's great, it's easy, the oversight's still there, we're gonna spend that money elsewhere.
Well, again, shall the city be authorized to stop publishing? Shall the city be authorized to publish its bills on its website instead of this? Because I agree, like, you don't want to look like we're looking for less oversight. You know, bring on the oversight, I don't care.
Yeah.
Scott?
Technology's dictating how we do it in different directions.
Well, it's saving money, like, how much money are we spending to put this in the paper?
About
Not only that.
$3 a year.
Two elected officials.
It's
At this
also-
point, all of our pennies count.
The elected
just think-
positions, I mean, any of that money can go to like boots on the ground staff.
Figureheads.
Well, it looks like I was just reading, the clerk is like $4,800 a year, and the treasurer doesn't get any money, but that's still
Still
$4,800.
Yeah, but if we have a person who is our
employee incentive.
employed and doing most of the work of the clerk, and we have a clerk that comes in just to sign things, that's.
I want that job.
I
I
know.
wouldn't have to even have this conversation with you people.
Stop it.
And I'd make more money.
Is that not
Just saying.
enough argument right there?
Yeah, like,
So-
why do we have two layers of people doing things when one
Why are
person is
we
doing the
paying
job?
for that position?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hey, also, just in caring about local business. And, the current, for example, printing in the legal section, is not, really an excellent source of income for papers anymore. I did not know, but Bob Sweeney, who has, the Gilpin paper, the Register Call, told me that, reimbursement rate is set by the state. And if you can believe this, it has not been raised since 1993.
So they're not making any money on the pages.
I mean, it is such a sliver, and they never had a inflationary, raise built into that, so there it sits. 32 years and has not moved an
But their
inch.
printing costs have probably gone up.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the
well, I
paper.
can't even imagine for paper and, yeah, the printing,
If these go on the ballot, like, do we get to do a little local, you know, the state one, the ballot measures that explains, like,
The
do
blue
we
book.
have something that has the local ones on it, or do we do something?
We did
well,
do
this is a
that.
good one for Nick, and we do have some restrictions here.
Yeah, there are restrictions, but you can tailor it to at least explain what's going on.
Well, yeah, because I just feel like the context of why these shouldn't exist is important. Again,
You can also,
they haven't,
they
they've
can do resolutions.
been voting
Yeah.
no's for a reason, so we need to communicate.
Well, didn't we, when we put out the measure for the 1% water tax and it failed the first time? Did we not do a yay or nay? Here's what this, ballot initiative means, if you're voting yes.
Oh, pro con.
Yeah, we did pro con for that, because I remember getting the pro con and thinking, it's good, that was well explained.
We also did it for that Virginia Canyon land exchange last year. We
Yes.
put together like a fact sheet that.
But it was
just
only,
validates.
pro.
Well,
You don't,
There was
you
no
don't have to
problem.
have, both, just so you know.
I would say.
The real concern is like you don't want to expend money to like, support the issue. It's really the big concern usually. You can be informational. You can't. be
Yeah,
partisan.
exactly.
Oh, no, I don't mean partisan, I mean from an informational standpoint,
This is
because our language requirements of our ballot initiatives, I find personally to be very problematic. They're not written in a way
Well,
to
and
encourage
people who
understanding.
vote that way are thinking they have control of who's for some reason.
Look, when you looked at the last election for the city treasurer and the city clerk, it was under 50 votes.
Yeah,
Total, those two offices garnered under 50 votes.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
No, it's just,
Is it fair to say that you're also a yes on all three?
oh, I'm
questions?
sorry, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if you look at the memo that you got in your packet,
Mhm.
you can kind of see that the first two questions relate to the elective offices. And then the next two relate to the bills. And these like sets of two are kind of just different ways of stating the question. And in administering this, we'd recommend going with the same language for both, for at least for the elected office question. You'd probably want to use the same language for both questions, just replacing treasurer with clerk in those. So, I mean, out of the two draft ballot questions there at the top, do you like one more than the other? Do you think that one of them you like more than the other, but you'd still like to see it changed? I mean, how are we feeling on that language?
With the language without affecting the current term of the city clerk.
Yeah, I don't get that.
it's allowed the city clerk to serve out their term.
Yeah, allows the city clerk to serve.
Oh, okay, all
I
right,
think the clerk is up this
now,
cycle.
Yeah.
And then the treasurer is up.
can we
27.
just make that a little clearer? I think that would be, it sounds like it sounds like the city clerk's actual job.
If the city clerk is up for election this year, then we would, I guess we'd have to remove that language, yeah, because it would be full term. But for the treasurer, I guess we would want to keep that.
Yeah,
You don't want it to seem like you're just eliminating the
that
office.
could be gone,
I
right?
prefer the second one myself.
Okay,
Yeah, love it.
I think that explains it very clearly.
Gina, what's your thoughts?
No,
I think it's clear.
Scott Mayor, are you good with the
I'm
second?
good with either.
Yes, the same way, Lisa's probably the best wordsmith of all of us.
I would think
And,
so.
I'm
Not
probably,
necessarily, but I'm not a
I'm
legal
probably
wordsmith,
going to
and-
lean heavily, towards, her judgment on it.
I mean, it's a little longer than the first, but honestly, it's very straight to the point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's very, good. The first one to me is a little less clear, the second one is very clear.
Okay. So, we have your go-ahead to bring a res zone next meeting to eliminate both positions
Yeah.
with that second set of ballot language.
That sounds, I think that's
Okay.
good across, good with you, Scott? All right, good, unanimous.
So then for the bills, do you like either of the examples that are being presented, or do you want to see it stated a different way? And
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
think
The second
I
one,
think the second
Lisa's
one is.
point about the website is well taken.
Yeah, so if you say, so, when you say, so shall the city be authorized versus shall the city be permitted? I don't know, just something about permitted to me sounds better, and
Me
it
too.
goes to Janine's point that we're not looking to escape any kind of,
Right.
accountability or
Accountability, yeah.
transparency. But we're not saying, oh, we don't wanna publish the bills, we're not gonna publish in the paper, we're just gonna publish them on the website.
It seems like,
It's a trade.
yeah.
Yep.
I would say something.
it also sounds like we're just moving with the times versus
Yeah, like-
eliminating something from.
Well, I mean,
old
I'm not
times.
trying to hide the bills.
Did you not hear us? How many of us go to Facebook and read to see what the temperature is in the community?
I do, I get my
I
weather
do.
report. I get all my news from the weather report. You don't know that line? Nobody knows that line? Whatever, I'm gonna.
All right,
So we're good on that, just shall the city be authorized to publish
Yes.
this? Okay.
Paul
Shall the city
Simon,
be permitted?
nobody's ever heard, he's still alive.
yeah, there was the second one on.
Yeah,
I got my
Yes,
news from
that-
the weather report.
I was already re-editing it in my head. Yes.
A Paul Simon song?
Oh.
I gather all on my news from the weather report? No.
Yes.
I do have his entire catalog stuck in the brain set. There's that.
All right, anything further before we adjourn?
I don't have anything on this. This
All
was
right.
very easy
All
and
right.
straightforward, so thank
Okay.
you guys for making it.
Very good,
We
so,
always- okay,
please,
we don't
everybody,
always-
take 10
we
minutes
generally
and,
make it easy for you.
we'll reconvene for the regular.
I'm your biggest pain in the He's got your-
I don't know.
He got one, it's up to Victoria. the other day.
She's actually.
That's because I don't even know what they are.
I just fixed mine.
So they were like, oh, you know, we really.
Yeah, I
like
guess
this."
The water and the
I'm
sewer
not
line.
really
I got a Douglas fir coming out, like the front gate, it's gonna take over the whole front gate here soon. Does anybody wanna come in and remove them? It's a beautiful tree.
I haven't been up for a while.
I need
Dylan?
a tree done.
The
Does he
neighborhood
want 'em?
tree guy.
He keeps
You
telling me
know
I was
tree guys?
chainsaw
The neighborhood tree guy.
Oh, I can cut them down, Doug can cut them down. I want the rocks to come out and have them hanging out in the fall and replant it.
I thought you
You know what?
were just gonna cut down.
Doug has a chainsaw. I don't know.
I'm not getting the chainsaw and getting on the ladder.
Did they trim the trees when they?
No, it's back in Carolina.
I wonder, I remembered, what this was. I helped the lady where the tree had grown in front of the new parking sign.
Okay.
And I trimmed the branches and I got a hold of Interstate,
No.
Who,
he's got one of my-
negated the ticket.
I'm pretty sure that's what.
And just for that,
Yes,
only because I looked at that mailing address for Collins. And I remembered she said, hey, I'm very familiar with paid parking. I live in Fort Collins.
What a beautiful car.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
The other ones slow you down because it's each.
Yeah, it's got that 3D look.
And just shows the gratitude. That's nice.
Oh, yeah.
Our internet just went down. It's actually like on the little lemon guy.
I was
No, she gets one all the time. It's like a block.
Nice.
Oh.
I talked about problem, and I was like, problem. One of them's got a particular.
I have so many of these now. Like,
Yeah, but the gardens.
Clean up with handicap ones.
I saw one the next day, and I was like, holy shit.
That's funny.
Kind of with the babies.
Are we good? All right. Hello, I would like to welcome everybody to the August 11th, 2025 regular city council meeting for the city of Idaho Springs. And I'd like to start off with a roll call, please.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Janine Mariani. Here. Lisa Manifold. Here. Kate Collier.
Here.
Jim Clark. Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones. Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Here, I'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us, and do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda for Monday, August 11th.
Thank you, Janine. And do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Kate. And any discussion of the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? All right, now we'll move to the minutes for July 28th. And do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from July 28th, 2025.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. And any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have bills before us this evening, and do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills dated August 11th, 2025.
Thank you, Scott. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion of the bills? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we have one person for public comment, and that's Kate. Kate, you're welcome. Please.
Sorry, I have a stuck around my mouth, of course. Speaking on behalf of Caroline Snow, Caroline is having problems with, getting in and out of her house, because of where she's located. Sometimes she has to park farther away, so she is requesting a handicap parking spot across from her home at 2041 Wall Street. And I hope I can do that for her. Getting down here is also difficult for her, so
2041 Wall Street, request for handicap.
directly across the street.
And I know for a fact she's quite older. And all right. Anything else you'd like to say, Kate?
Nothing, she's a great neighbor, and we want to take care of her. We want her to stay at home as long as she can.
All right, well, thank you for that comment. And do we have any other public comment? I don't have any written anyone else on my sheet, but I'm just wondering if we have anybody online.
I don't see anyone online.
Okay, all right, well, thank you for checking. I'm assuming we do not have our finance officer with us tonight. Okay. All right, then we will move to resolutions. And this one will be number 26. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 26, series 2025, a resolution adopting an amended city parking plan.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second? Second from Janine. And any discussion?
I think we're gonna have more discussion. I don't know how to put this in there about East End. I'm seeing signs that say, this is property, this is so-and-so's, business parking, and it's a city property.
Where at?
Marion's,
Gotcha.
Well, I think that our flexibility allows us to change this bits and pieces on the fly, right?
Well, it does, and I'll give you an example, an encroachment agreement, similar to what we offer, downtown can be, something, not that people are gonna take us up on it, but that's just a good example of the flexibility. We're trying to have the business owners on the east end have this a positive situation, not a negative one.
So it came up at our last meeting also that homes in the, I'm not sure what the name of the neighborhood is. The football field neighborhood?
like the Minor Street Stadium area.
I guess so. They're gonna have concerns about their parking. So this kind of opens up, do we want to have an amendment made later to this?
Well, we can also based on, there was a comment in our work session about the length of time it may take to fully rent out 119
Right.
units.
Right, so what,
And I'm just saying that, I think we are nimble enough
okay,
as a council, if we see a problem developing, that we can address that.
I mean, it does add value to the home, wherever you are, if that's something that we're gonna do. So if we, as long as we can jump that, we can talk
Yeah.
about that when
Yeah.
when it's pertinent.
Just to what you said, okay, but wasn't that in that whole plan or that project, that every homeowner along Minor Street was to have their own with new sidewalks and parking? Was that,
Well, it's improved, but it's not their private,
oh, it would be. I was under the assumption that they were it was kind of a guaranteed thing for the
Sidewalk was.
side, but not a parking spot.
and there was improved.
The sidewalk is the
parking.
one that goes along the project, not into the,
But I thought on both sides of that Minor Street deal there was, no,
I don't think so.
There will be parking on both sides of the street, but
that
it's not
guaranteed or designated to any resident. Okay,
Well, as long as we have the flexibility to go back and say we can designate parking spaces in front of these houses, because I've been watching since our last meeting. And I've driven by like on a Thursday morning, and I see people pulling their bikes off their cars and out of their vans on West End.
on
Colorado.
8 or, yeah,
Yeah, like further west than 8.
wow.
Well, and I don't wanna be the devil's advocate, but if we do that, it's gonna be a ton of signage, isn't it?
Well, not only that,
They could put markers on the street though. I was thinking about that.
We're
They
gonna
could
have to
go,
figure out how to do these, institute some of these plans,
I
yeah,
don't want every other spot, every other house to have a sign in front of it
Yeah.
either,
No,
I feel like I know Dylan was exploring some different ideas for
Like a-
residential parking and how to manage it in the event. Do you want to speak to that? Zoe?
I was going to mention this during my staff update when you asked for anything else, and I had thought of some ideas looking up. During that last meeting, during public comments, I had started researching like what do other cities do? And there are a bunch of ways that you could do it that would potentially be effective, so if council, with council direction, I'd be happy to
And,
start putting something together for a work session.
and Dylan, I would just add, and Ed has already been working on this with Interstate. We've already started to sign pretty well down to eighth. And if people just want to disregard that it's residential parking area only, then they're gonna expect to get a ticket.
Well, but Dylan, you're talking about house, like specific to a home?
Well, potentially, or ways that would like. Not that this is necessarily like a work session now, but I was thinking, you know, what's the problem and it's a potential problem of people who are maybe a resident. of a different development that then starts parking in front of someone else's house. Is there a way to solve that? Because we're all residents.
Right.
You know, and there's a lot of places, for example, that do parking zones within their residential program. Is that something to look into?
I think it's a great idea.
I do too. Yeah, because I don't think it's fair if you live on Colorado or whatever that
You're
you know,
penalized.
Tentatively, you could lose your spot
Right.
because it's public parking per se.
Well,
So Dylan, I thank you for that. I do agree with that.
and we did have a very unselfish long-term resident who has off-street parking for herself voice the concern, especially for older residents, that they should have at least one designated spot just due to their age. If they come home with groceries or what have you, it's gonna be a huge deal if they're having to walk a block with their laundry or groceries.
Well, I know last meeting, Jeremy, who's not here tonight, had mentioned, well, maybe there's something like the handicap spaces that's like a handicap light. And you
Right,
develop a
right.
set of criteria that if you meet that criteria, then you could have something in front of your house. Similarly, even though don't have the same issues. So I think I could put together a staff report quite easily that kind of detailed several. different
So
options.
I would say, in the spirit of this resolution, number 26, that we would be adopting this tonight with the understanding that the city has the flexibility to try to right a wrong should one
Yes.
rear its ugly head.
Right, we can certainly address issues, you know,
Later.
in a
Yeah.
month or two's time, I
Yes.
think.
As amended,
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry?
because I made the motion, can I just say as amended? With what you just said?
Yeah, if you would like, Kate, I
Or
don't
does that
think any of us.
imply What you're saying, does that imply?
Automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor, I don't think,
You don't need to do anything.
yeah, I think you're fine. Just-
All right, okay. Any further discussion before we go to roll call?
I mean, this isn't set in stone. I mean, we can flexibly
Yeah, all the
change
time.
parking at any time.
Yeah.
You could
We
come
can
back
review it
next
every
month
3 years or every
and
2
do
years.
another resolution.
Yeah, I mean,
We can literally
I think
review it every year.
looking forward with parking, we're gonna have so many changes
Right.
that when somebody comes in here and complains about something, we have to look at the issue
Mhm.
and then try to come up with a solution at times.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's gonna, it's,
Needs to be a living thing.
it's,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
a
That's a good
constantly
way to
changing
put it.
document, so.
Well, I saw a pickup, just last weekend in the park there. Is that 7th? Or is that 8th?
Oh, 6.
6th?
6.
Yeah, okay, 6th. It was on the curb in the grass. Yeah, they're gone. You know.
Gosh. All right, if there's no more discussion, I would call for roll call, please.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Kate Collier,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Jim Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Next up, we have ordinance first reading, just one of those tonight. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance 15, series 2025, an ordinance accepting and recognizing a portion of Wall Street as a legal public street.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Kate Collier, Yes. Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Going to ordinance second reading, we only have one tonight, and do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 14, series 2025, an ordinance accepting and recognizing the alignment of a portion of Virginia Canyon Road.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. All right, City Attorney Nick, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Nice seeing everyone. Carmen is traveling, as you might know. and,
Yep.
You know, her kid's getting back to school, so
Yeah,
Thanks.
wish her luck. High
Yeah.
schooler.
absolutely.
Wow.
Truth. Okay, next up, we have a city administrator of, Andy's, this will be, his last day of vacation, and he should be back tomorrow. But he does have two requests for action. And one is for the sports lighting. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve a proposal from Musco Sports Lighting in the amount of $519,500 to retrofit and upgrade the lighting system to accommodate the improvements at Shelley Quinn Park, count number 21-00-603.
Thank you, Janine. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion?
Is this from the grant we got, out of that?
All right, anything further?
It's a lot of
I
money.
think it's expensive, jeez.
Yeah, but that's always been a problem out there, and the problem has always been the expense.
Oh, yeah.
When we've looked at how to mitigate
So
it.
if we're gonna do it, might as well do it.
By the way, that was the number one reason that the football field at the new high school went years, multiple
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And was not, operational.
For the lighting.
God, that was like
Yep.
such a.
It was lighting.
deal. Yep.
All right, anything further? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Next up, we've got a building restoration amount. And, actually, this is, for a wall repair, that we have heard quite a bit about at, Wall Street at about 15th Avenue. And do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve a proposal from Rocky Mountain Building Restoration in the amount of $12,750 to repair the stone retaining wall on Wall Street at the 15th Avenue right of way, account number 23-00-6016.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion?
Fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, roll call, please.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And let's see here. Next up is Guy has a request, he's got a couple of requests here for action.
Just one.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve agreement for professional services with Core Planning Group LLC with a not to exceed amount of $28,250.
All right, thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And Guy, just want to point out that move to opt into the DRCOG Regional Housing Needs Assessments was of course successful. And I also, along those lines, wanted everybody to know, I had requested formally to DRCOG that they expand the DRCOG region. I think we all know that this is a commute area. And although I cannot speak for Empire or Silver Plume or Georgetown, I think that they at the very least should have the option of opting in. They're in our same boat. And I asked for an expansion of DRCOG simply because this should also apply to communities that are not in Clear Creek County. You know, you have some commute areas out east, for example, that also have long been commute areas, and they are very loyal. And they come to the Dr. Cog meetings and participate, and I just think it would behoove them to expand. So I just wanted you to know that request has been made. And Guy, anything further to share with us tonight?
No, just about the senior housing, I'm really excited to get that going. I'm happy we got a consultant on it.
Yeah, and also, I think we should point out that the core planning group, 28,000 that was just approved here, that actually is not costing the citizens. That was from a grant.
Excellent.
Yeah, so they were under the grant maximum. And I'm with you, Guy. I'm really excited to see that, so thank you. And Deputy City Clerk, Wonder, an expanded report. Thank you. That was very, very interesting.
It's a good report.
Do you need your stuff?
I have a question. If the new ballot measure goes through and the elected official city clerk, would Wonder be the city clerk?
Yeah, she would be, she wouldn't be elected, she wouldn't have that hassle, frankly.
No, yeah, she would be
But she would be appointed is what,
as city clerk.
Theoretically.
yeah,
Well, of
Could
course,
receive
yeah,
Did you see
applications.
these?
right.
Don't get
'Cause
ahead of yourselves there.
The scary thing is, you know, you could just be 18 years old and really get the city in quite a pickle with no experience. I mean, the bar is very low for who could be the clerk, and that it's not right, but
Those
that's,
applications seem shredded too.
But-
They can do that too,
But-
right, Nick?
Hold on, so I'm confused, Nick. So Wonder's technically doing the city clerk job in a deputy
Yes.
position. If it's no longer elected and we get rid of the signature portion of that, why wouldn't she just move into that? She's already doing the job.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're not prejudging any application because we
Of
still have
course.
to appoint the office.
Oh,
So maybe Wonder doesn't want to be the city clerk and someone else applies for that position. It just so happens that that person isn't being elected anymore and is being
right,
chosen.
we have to, at the very least, have that door open, technically.
But if we did appoint her, then is there a term for?
mm-mm.
Does
she'd
there-
be an
Okay,
employee.
She'd be an employee.
she'd be,
No, it
okay.
would still be that same
4 years.
4-year term.
And we'd have to redo it so that the whim of council.
So, yes,
Interesting.
That was my.
it's still the position, it's just not elected anymore. It would almost be like if one of the seats on council was always appointed rather than elected. And you'd still
Does
have
that
to go through the
exist?
motion. It doesn't, I'm just saying, you still have to go through the
Our council
motions
sometimes.
every 4 years. There's a chance that someone really wants the clerk job and wants to apply to be the appointed clerk because they think that their signature looks really good on documents or something, right? And they don't want Wonder to be that person, and you'd have to consider that application. And
Okay, I'm not totally my misunderstanding. I thought it was gonna become one person. You're still saying that we're appointing somebody, they just won't get paid.
No,
No,
it's
still get
one
paid.
person. She's doing effectively the work of a clerk now,
Right,
because statutorily you have to have a clerk,
right.
you've named it a deputy clerk. You're getting rid of the elected part and you're just appointing. When you appoint that person, whoever you
Could be
appoint,
anybody and
Yes.
including
it
Wonder.
does the full job
Okay.
of clerk with a salary, benefits, everything that you're going to allow effectively an employee.
Minus terms.
And I would honestly argue that the compensation of $1,200 per quarter of service would also be applicable to Wonder if she were appointed as a city clerk. But you all could eliminate that compensation as well in response to the ballot question, like you've already done for the city treasurer's office, who doesn't receive any compensation.
Right. All right, well, good question. Anything further on that?
I'd be curious to know how many other municipalities
hardly
do this. I mean,
I was actually, I told you, Wheat Ridge is looking at this, and I was reading an article about it, and there's maybe 5 or 6 that still have
In the
elected
whole
positions. Yeah,
It's still elect theirs?
yeah.
Another.
Well, there's some
Point to
elected,
get
but then
across
they
the
do what
doors.
you've done is they've effectively have a professionalized underneath the elected because as the mayor said, you can get somebody who doesn't know,
Diddly.
teapot from a tea kettle and
Been there, done
kind of
that.
screw some stuff up.
Yeah.
So,
People do appoint the current clerk. I mean, the city of Leadville, I prosecute up there, and I know that the clerk up there, the deputy clerk, was appointed the city clerk at one point also. So it's not out of the ordinary for someone to wear both hats.
All right, well, thank you, and Wonder, the statistics that you shared were pretty interesting too, so we're up 4.14%. If you look at where we were, for the same month last year, which is saying something since many municipalities heading west are down 15 or 20%. Also, we are
People
up.
love it here. I hear, because I'm working downtown, I hear people say, oh my God, I love this down here. This is great. We should do it all year round. And people love the ability just to walk downtown.
Well, I agree with you. I think it's a good selling point. We are up 2.91% for the year, which is ever so slightly above inflation. So I'm saying I think we're in a good place, knock on wood. Hopefully that will hold.
Did we forget community development, official, the Dr. Cog?
No, we get it.
Wonder, was there anything else that you'd like to share with us? Again, thank you. That was a very expanded report, and yeah, that was very, very interesting.
I have more to come. I'm trying to break it up because it was.
All right, all right.
Thank you, and I don't have anything else to share.
Yeah, no, we
Okay,
didn't do this
all right, well,
one.
thank you.
We have to do that.
Do we have to do that?
Is that a
I,
motion we have to do?
no, no. Just merely because he had sufficient direction.
Okay.
I would also like to say we're gonna have the block party Wednesday
Are you in the dunk tank?
at 4 p.m. So, what?
Are you in the dunk tank? That is the important question.
If I have a towel, I'm in the dunk tank. You know?
I'll bring you a towel.
So, all right, so, I'm easy, you know, I'll take a hit if it raises $1 for, Charlie's Place or anything else, you know, count me in.
Oh, and on that subject, HDR will be there with the booth to talk about the 15% design on the mobility hub and downtown improvements.
Yeah, and they get to stay dry.
Well, Charlie from the team might volunteer.
Okay,
But,
all right.
so they'll have a booth and be answering questions from the public and things like that, which should be a good opportunity.
Are you having a booth?
I'll be there with them, hanging out, answering any city related questions.
I'll be working.
All right, very good. Next up, Chief, thank you for the report, always interesting. And just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything else to share with us tonight.
3 things.
Oh.
real quick, Mayor. So just a quick reminder that school starts this week. So the school zone will be lit up on starting Wednesday, so careful in the school zone. Secondly, officially, the construction of the new police station started today. There wasn't a lot of activity, but so we're moving forward with that. And then lastly, we are gonna have a sort of a groundbreaking type small event 2 weeks from today at 4:30 over there at the building. So 4:30 before the next work session.
Yeah, it sounds, all right, that sounds like a good plan. Thank you very much. Ed, thank you for your report. Looking at Public Works, what's new over there?
We started the Idaho Street diagonal sewer lines today.
Gotcha.
It started out as a mess,
Oh,
so it could only get better.
okay.
Positive thinking.
Yeah, tomorrow, the baseball field, the ballpark storage building's coming down.
Oh,
To
okay.
clear way for parking for rapid reps.
Like right on time since it starts Friday.
Yeah,
All right, very
nothing
good.
like doing stuff at the last minute.
That in for demo?
And Ed, I would just suggest you'd be a traitor to your gender if you didn't do it at the last meeting. So anyways, I want to thank you. But in all seriousness, is that something that would be done in a day, do you think?
Two, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
looking at tear down tomorrow and then haul off on the 13th.
Okay, all right,
And then grade it out and done.
gotcha.
Should be good enough to park.
Okay, very good.
job, Ben.
Thanks for all the work on the streets
Yes,
too.
thanks for,
Yeah,
And all your
Holy
work on the
cow.
streets.
thanks for everything.
And you look beat, bro.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's also Virginia Street, there's a bunch of potholes on it. All the way down.
Yeah.
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 And, sewer line inspection plans and there's just a lot of things.
And Ed, moving along, because you wear multiple hats, water facilities, got your report, anything further to share with us there? I know you're moving forward with the tank up there, Montaigne's going
Yeah,
well.
it's going on now.
Mhm.
Tomorrow there's a meeting on it. They're digging the line. And it looks like we got, easements for the utility, the
Yeah.
alternate, line,
Mhm.
alignment. So they're gonna go with that way and it'll be a whole lot easier to dig into that.
All right,
And easier to do the switch over. Should be best all around.
good. Anything further to share with us tonight?
I don't think so.
All right, well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, under Mayor and Council, I did not have anything, but before we adjourn, I want to make sure there's not anything else on anybody's mind.
Let everybody go stuff.
I just wanna say kudos to Andy, he's not here, but answering the questions for concerned citizens.
Oh, yeah.
The parking
Yeah,
lot.
I agree.
I thought it was done very professional and I thought that he probably spent a fair amount of time getting you through that.
I think you
And
did.
I think that's what we
And what
owe
parking
our
concerns?
citizens, that when they bring questions, so
Absolutely.
I wanna tell him, great job.
Well, thank you, Scott.
And I hope we got her answers that she wanted.
I hope so too. Janine?
Yeah, just because I talked to so many of my neighbors this week, so I was getting signatures, so I had a few comments people made that I said I would relay. Well, firstly, Mrs. Snow, our neighbor, she was asking if she goes to the United Church, and she said that there's often trouble like finding parking on Sunday mornings for church. And if it's possible, like what we've done with some of the other businesses, like that, it's like church parking only Sunday morning, something like that, was her request.
I think it's a
So
great
I would
idea.
bring it forward. Just a ton of like anxiety about everything going on with the Argo and like 23rd Street and like the need for a four-way stop sign or a roundabout or a traffic light. These are the requests I was getting and just lots of feelings about that and
I-
definitely wanting more.
Just to reiterate on the four-way stop at 23rd, I actually think it would be something that we need to review.
In 16.
There's actually, I mean, I know that it's not, people aren't a fan of the stop signs, but trying to get out and go eastbound from 23rd, none like that, no offense, chief, but people are speeding, they're speeding more than ever. And they are absolutely refusing to let residents out of the neighborhoods, especially at 23rd. That's what I noticed the most. So yeah, I think it'd be a good thing to review.
And then just one more thing, so on our street, on Wall Street, we have those like temporary speed bumps, and I heard like a fear in the winter, like they're not gonna be good, I don't know, because they're temporary. So there was one request for permanent speed bumps, but I think also just thinking about the winter plan for those speed bumps staying or what's
Wow.
yeah, exactly, or like, and especially the ones we have, I think will pop up, I don't know.
So last year,
This
we
is-
had to nail those all back down again, and they were starting to tear up the road. So I was considering removing them for the winter, so they don't tear up the road.
Gotcha.
Well, we're not gonna have bikers parking on the road in the winter. So in that case, I don't think we're gonna have as much traffic that we have to worry about people slowing down.
Yeah.
So I think that'll
So
actually,
maybe sometime in October,
yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever the bike park closes.
and then I'm sure you all will remind me to back in.
Yeah, we'll try to do
I
that.
like those.
Well, actually, she's right though. There's not enough place to put the snow as it is, so.
Yeah.
There are, wow, yeah.
All right, anyone else?
A couple things, I think we need to put on a work session to discuss fire. I hear at the library, and I myself worried about it, I'm worried about it all the time, I'm afraid to leave the house. Obviously the fires on Meeker are an obvious sign that we're not getting anything under control anymore. It is going to burn through us. So what can we do? I talked to Chuck a little bit before meeting tonight. He's gonna talk to the county commissioners. They had a proposal come to them. It's hearsay, so I can't say that they did or did not, like, agree to it or not agree to it. But they had somebody come to them to talk about maybe doing some clear cutting around the municipalities to at least have a fire break. I'm not a fire expert, Jeremy's not here, but I do think that there's an opportunity for discussion. And then I had another citizen that came in and said that she has been here for 50 years. She would love to see the sirens activated, which means that you would at least, even if your phone wasn't activating, or your phone wasn't activating, you would hear the siren and you would know that there's something going on. And I know that we have one still in place, it's an antique, but I think even in Texas, they have said that the floods that happened down there would have been maybe a little less severe if the sirens were in place.
I agree.
So.
Can I jump on? I really think that this fire mitigation thing, I've heard a lot from people as well worried about fire. When we were talking earlier, maybe at the last work session about how do we help residents mitigate the beetle kill and the fire danger, if this is something like doing a break around the town or something that we can work out with them, kind of deal for our residents, I think we should do that.
I mean, to me, it's like, it's worth more to me at this point in time. I can't say a lot of things because we talked about it in the executive session, but any other big monetary output, this right now, this fire mitigation is worth more to me. And I think the value is worth more to the town than anything else that we can think about, because it doesn't really matter what we develop if we don't have a town.
You're right, and I would just add that a lot of the threat is frankly outside of the city limits.
Mhm.
The city limits is pretty constrained.
Right.
And not to say we don't have some dead trees, but I would suggest that like literally 99% of the threat are in like Forest Service property or private acreage that's outside of city limits. Jeremy was expressing the bill is going to be just insurmountable.
I know.
Because he was talking
If the town
about
burns down, the buildings will burn too.
helicopters that are needed to actually remove the fuel. So anyways, I agree, Kate. I think it is something that would be productive in a work session.
And even just to let people know that we're talking about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not as if it's just a very simple solution, just like you just said, it's not simple and it's not if, it's when. And so let's get ahead of it as much.
Well, inclusive mitigation was, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Was, the project coming, westbound on 70 there, on the south side of the road there. They knocked a bunch of people kill out of there, which was.
And
Yeah.
I just want you to know that we were talking in Georgetown a few days ago with our Congressman Goose about this very subject, because there's no way he can drive up I-70 and not see like literally just millions of dead trees. So he's aware that, we need to find some funding desperately to bring this under control. Anything else? Oh, yeah.
Process question, like to get an item on work session, like, is this a good time? Like, is mayor and council the time, like, we like can request or suggest, like, I'm just unclear, like, the process of like how something gets on a work.
Well,
Session agenda.
sure, and I'm going to have Guy weigh in on this as well, but typically what we will do, we will have a work session item that we've already teed up, and maybe we know like next week is full. Say, cause we can only cover so many items. So we'll say, but we should have bandwidth in 2 weeks. And that's pretty typical. Guy, your feelings on the pile and how we get through it there with work session items?
I think communicating directly with Andy. I think communicating in this setting.
I'd like to keep it public, honestly. I'd rather not do it by email. I do want to tee up a conversation about Guy, the position that you had mentioned earlier, but I'd like to tee up other things like a staff satisfaction survey. I'd like to start talking about staff reviews again. I think having council be reviewed by the staff, I think is also very important. So I think we need to have a personnel conversation before we redevelop or change our office dynamic.
All right. Anything further before we adjourn? I want to thank everybody. We are going to adjourn.